Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara T. I wanted to give you like a little recap of my year of crocheting. This was my first year really having my business, my channel, my social medias and everything really revolving around my crochet business. And it really kept me on my toes this year. So I wanted to just show you a rundown of all of the yarns I used. I kept every skein label and I want to show you how many there ended up being, how many yarns we went through, what colors I like to use, and kind of reflect on the yarns that we used throughout the year and some of the projects we made with those certain yarns. I also want to talk really quickly about just some of my goals for the 2025 year, some of my goals that were for the 24 year that we might have missed or we could work on as well for this year. So stay tuned. I'm going to hop in all of that, but I want to go over all of my yarn usage first. So at the beginning of the year, I saw some people who had been making videos about keeping track of their yarn usage for either like a month or like while market prepping for a certain week or something like that. And I thought it would be really fun to do it for the entire year, like my first full year of crocheting for my business. And that is exactly what I did. Every time I used a full skein, I kept the label here. I'm sure there's a couple skein labels that, you know, I might have had just like a little tiny bit left, and so they might have ended up in here. But I know for a fact that there's also a couple yarn labels I used while I was on vacation or out of town, or I just got rid of them, or they ended up very destroyed whenever I bought them, so I got rid of them. So I'm sure it pretty much balanced out to what exactly it would have been pretty much. But I have my entire stack right here. Like this is crazy. I had kept them all in a bag, okay? They fit in this bag and they were sticking out the top of it. If you saw my yarn reorganizing room thing, which obviously I've moved my room around yet again because I like to keep things fresh, and when I walk into a new room it just makes me feel a little bit more creative. But I kept all of my yarn labels, as you can see here. I went ahead and I got a little crazy with these, okay? I put them all in a spreadsheet by the brand, the type, and how many I ended up using for this year. Now I really thought that there would be some standouts. I know that there was a couple bigger projects I did. I also know that there was a couple colors I got really hooked on that I thought I had used a lot more of. But again, I'm going to dive into all of that here today because it's not as much as I honestly thought it was going to be. So I'm just gonna run down my list of my brands in alphabetical order and kind of just give you like a little summary of the yarns that we used for this year. I obviously am obsessed with Bernat. Sorry, I just shook my desk, but Bernat is my preferred yarn usually. It makes all my projects turn out just a little bit bigger, so I can charge a little bit more compared to Sweet Snuggles, but I do really like Sweet Snuggles too as well. So it's been really hard to pick, which is why my collection keeps growing in both departments, which is not good for me at all. Like this isn't even all of the yarn I have. I think I have 2 more big boxes over here that I need to reorganize. I have 1 more 4 cubed shelf up here that I just got for Christmas, which is why I rearranged everything in this room again. But I just got that new shelf for Christmas, so I'm going to be filling that one up. I've got a new side table that we can start filming on and have a little bit more desk space to spread out whenever I'm creating stuff. And so this whole little area, this little nook is very cozy and I love it so much. And so I'm very excited about this. But the Bernat collection's overflowing. I still have yarns that need to be restocked in these shelves. My Sweet Snuggles collection is in the cubes on the sides and it's overflowing. I've become obsessed with Big Twist as well because it's just like Bernat but a little bit bigger. And I mean, again, the bigger the project, the more I feel like I can charge for it a little bit more. So I don't know which yarn I prefer. So comment down below which yarn you prefer because I feel like I eventually need to pick. But maybe that's just me. Bernat yarn, I had a lot of different types of yarn. I feel like Bernat in general for this year came out with a lot of new kinds of yarns that everybody got really attached to. So I'm just gonna run down the types really quick on my little spreadsheet of what I ended up using. I obviously used a lot of blanket yarn, of course. And I used a lot of baby blanket as well. Baby blanket has a different range of colors than just the regular blanket yarn. So there's some colors you can get in one and not the other. So those were pretty even, honestly, at the end of the day. I also had some brights, I had dabbled, I had frosting, I had mystical yarn schemes, I had ombre, I had perfect phasing, I had sparkle, I had speckle, I had tie-dye-ish, and I had tweeds, which is a lot of different collections. And the one thing that I wish Burnout would have done this year is label some of their collections differently though, right? So I feel like we had a lot of drops of new colors randomly, but we didn't have necessarily collections for those drops. Like, I know the marble yarns. Where are they? The marble yarns, like the little sunset one, the green one over here. I know I have the blue one, the purple ones down there, the reds, like the peach pinks down here. The very marbly, almost like speckly yarns, like those are beautiful. And I know so many of us fell in love with those yarns this year. Especially, I know I fell in love with the tabby color, which I only had one skein used of in my list, which I know is not right, like I said, because I know one of them got destroyed in a little project bag of mine whenever I went to a market, but that's besides the point, okay? But I wish that Burnout would have taken some of those drops that they did and turned those into collections as well. That way, if we fell in love with that collection, they would know to specifically keep those colors in year round and keep those restocked, because I truly think we all fell in love with that. But I did think they learned with that whenever they released their mystical collection, which I know several of us now know that it was supposedly gonna be discontinued. I don't know if that's true or not. You can fact check me on that. I didn't check the facts, okay? But I've researched it, and everywhere I'm reading it says it's discontinued, so I stocked up personally. But they did do that collection differently, and like I said, so many people fell in love with it, but then they still went ahead and discontinued it, as the marble yarns just say out of stock on their websites. So I'm not sure if they're completely discontinued or not yet. So that might just be me. You can fact check that and look into all of that as well. But again, lots and lots of Burnout yarns used. It's my preferred yarn. So many great colors. The frosting yarn was perfect for chickens at the beginning of the year, which I got really obsessed with. So we had quite a few skeins of that used. The dabbled yarn is most of them were in the coral color. And the coral color is what I use for my giant big dragon snuggler that's been at my markets, and you've seen it in my videos, I'm sure. And so I had 2 skeins of that used just from one project. The speckled, the tweeds, those again were chickens. I know that the regular blanket yarns and the baby blanket yarns are used for pretty much everything in my collections, especially my Tyson turtles lately. I've been really falling in love with using the marbly yarns for the little shells on those guys. The next one, going alphabetically of course, is Big Twist. Big Twist was a new yarn for me this year as well. I started out using Burnout yarns because you could frog them a lot easier than like Sweet Snuggles Light from what I read, and that's very, very true. If you're gonna get into plushies, I would definitely use Burnout in my opinion. But Big Twist has their plush collection that's just a little bit thicker. I think I size up a full hook size. So I think for Burnout right now, I'm pretty much using a 5.5 usually. And so for the Big Twist, I think I use a 6.5 or sometimes even a 7, just depending on the colors and stuff. Every once in a while, I'll get one of the colors that's just a little bit thicker than the others for some reason. So 6.5 or 7 usually for the Big Twist, but either one works for me. And I made a lot of Tice the Turtles because I like to use the Big Twist mixed with the Dreamland yarn from Cover Story to make the turtle shells, and then the solid colors and the plush yarn I usually make the bodies and the heads in. So that was really fun as well this year, because that pattern just released this year, obviously, because I just started pattern designing the 2024 year. So I got to start using some different yarns and stuff for my own patterns too, and I really fell in love with those yarns for my Tice the Turtles specifically. Unfortunately, I didn't have very many skeins that were actually used up completely in that yarn, just because it doesn't take a lot of yarn to make those turtles, and I bought them in really weird colors to match all of the really weird Cover Story Dreamland yarn colors for the shells. So I don't use a lot of them when I make turtles, so I still have quite a bit of it. I have quite a few skeins that are really low, but again, they weren't to the end of the skein, so I didn't include the labels in my little collection for this year just quite yet though. Again, the next one on the list was Cover Story. Like I just said, I only went through one skein. I think it was, let me read. I went through one skein and it was Fairy Garden. It's the only skein I completely used in the Dreamland yarns, but again, it was a very fun yarn to experience this year. I had one skein used up of Inscraft. It's actually just the acrylic yarn, which is the only acrylic yarn on this list. I'm telling you, it's so funny, but it's one of the little mini skeins that I use for like the faces on my Love Cats, and it was the black skein, of course. I did have to end up getting more yarn for the Loaf Cat faces because if you've watched my YouTube channel, they keep selling. So I'm going to keep making them as long as they sell, okay? So I've been running out of that, so I did have to buy a new skein. I bought a different brand. I think I bought Big Twist cotton, I think, just like a little mini skein of that. But yes, so that was one really random one that I thought was interesting, but it's so cute because it's literally the tiniest little label ever in my little collection. Another big brand that I obviously used this year was Loops and Threads. Loops and Threads does supply all of the Chenille Home Slim and the Sweet Snuggles Light and the regular Sweet Snuggles for my collections. Chenille Home Slim, I had a lot of colors used in. Again, the Slim and the Lights have completely different like colorways in their collections, so you kind of have to use both of them together. So I used a lot of it. I think I got really into it at like the beginning of summertime, right before we went to summer markets. I think I was making like all kinds of like mushy boys in particular with that yarn. I was making my Stella the Dragon pattern in that yarn a lot. I was making all kinds of like dinosaurs and dragons, which I've gotten really back into lately. You can see those two little dragons back there in Sweet Snuggles. But I have fallen in love with those yarns, and I have fallen in love with them as well for my snakes. As you know, it's a Terry T classic around here to have snakes at all of my markets. So I have had a lot of those in my collection lately that have been used in all kinds of colors as well. I had one random Maystays like chenille yarn that I had used apparently, and I don't even remember what it is, but it's just like one gray color, and I think that's right when I started crocheting. So I think I got it in like December, and I just used it up at like the beginning of January because it was like one of the first ones in my pile that I had from this year, which was kind of crazy to look back and think about how like I was literally going to Walmart like and was just so amazed by like the yarn collection in Walmart, in my local tiny rural Walmart. And then I remember like this year like walking into my first Joann's and being like, what the crap, like look at all of this yarn. I had no idea that there was like just this huge section of like Joann's and Michael's both that had these huge collections just dedicated to this plushie yarn. And I always just thought it was like acrylics and cottons and stuff, but I didn't know that you could actually get it in stores for some reason. And so like whenever I got really into like making my plushies and starting my business at the beginning of this year, I like was mind blown when I walked in there for the first time. So like it's so weird to look back to and think like, where did I first start sourcing my yarn? And just like the little like 5x5 section in Walmart and being so excited that they had like a new color of like gray or brown was just kind of funny to me. We have two more brands. We have Premier, of course. I've recently gotten into that at the end of this year. I got into like their bloom yarns for snakes as well, and I got really into the Perfect chunky colors, and I'm starting to build a small collection of those as well. So I also had some of those and Gumdrop as well. I used pretty much all of those for snakes, and then the Parfait Chunkies I used for my Tysa turtles on my little fruit patterns. And again, those little fruit mods are released over on my Instagram channel, or on my Instagram page, and they're released on my Etsy page as like a little PDF if you want to just keep them all together and save them in there as well. The last one we have is Yarn Bee. Yarn Bee is kind of like a very random one to me. I remember using like multiple skeins like a little bit here and there, but I don't remember like specifically like finishing skeins of Yarn Bee. So I don't know how so many labels got into this batch. But there was so many Yarn Bee labels in this batch. It was kind of funny to me. And they were literally all different. And I was like, okay, I don't even remember what I made with them. I know one of them was like a twisted kind of yarn that I made for chickens a lot at the beginning. And it was like a huge skein and it lasted forever. I remember that. And then I think the Cozy with a Twist yarn I had talked about in a previous video, how I fell in love with that yarn. And then somebody, actually multiple people, were commenting and saying it was discontinued. And I was like, oh my gosh, I knew I should have gotten more of it while I was there, because I really, really, really loved that yarn actually. So that was funny to look back on too, and like remember those weird, like one-off kind of yarns that I used throughout this, like this whole entire year. So I want to go over my top 5 brands of like what I used the most for this year. For Bernat, I used 40 total skeins of Bernat yarn. Loops and Threads total, I used 17 skeins. Premier, I used 6 skeins. Big Twist, I used 4, and Yarn Bee I used 4, which again is why I was surprised that I had so many Yarn Bee labels, because I don't remember finishing all of those skeins for some reason. But total, between all of the miscellaneous yarns and the big ones I just listed, I did use 74 skeins total this year of yarn. Again, that's a little give or take. If I lost a little label or two, I do apologize, but that's as close as I could get for the whole entire year, which, based on the brands and everything, my total yardage used was 13,417 yards of yarn used. Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't make blankets. Like, I'm not out here making blankets or anything like that. And I used over 13,000 yards of yarn to make plushies. Like, that's so crazy to me. And like, I still have a full-time job, so I just do this in my free time. I do the markets in my free time and on weekends. I do YouTube in my free time as much as I possibly can. So like, to me, that's just so crazy that I had enough time this year to like sit down and use that much yarn. But I am beyond grateful for all like of the new yarns that came out this year, all the new types of yarns that I tried, every like new technique that I learned, and just being able to grow this channel from the ground up essentially. With that in mind, my goal for the 2024 year was to post every Tuesday. I feel like for the first half of the year that actually went really well, and I was posting every single Tuesday. Or for my like channel members, if you like join my channel and get a membership with my channel, you can get early access through like my Discord. So I started posting those on Sunday nights usually instead, so my Discord members could at least try to get like 24-hour access. But my job took a very like unexpected turn this year and got absolutely crazy with how much work I had to do. And so that was very unanticipated. So like or very unexpected. So like I did not plan for that. And so my schedule got a little bit off. Total this year, I did post 47 videos, which is still crazy to me because again, I have a full-time job, but I had 47 videos posted. Again, my goal was technically 52 videos, so I did miss 5 uploads in there, but that's okay. We show ourselves grace whenever things like this happen, okay? So that is essentially still my goal for the 2025 year, is to try to make sure I'm posting at least every week. I would love to upload at least like 1 extra video every month, but again, I just don't know with my job right now how likely that'll be, but I'm definitely gonna try. I have a huge list of ideas that I want to start rolling out with. I literally have like the next 30 videos I think planned out, plus any markets that we throw in there, so I'll have recap videos for that as well thrown in there. So I have so many video ideas. I just don't have time, okay? But I'm very excited about this coming year. Again, our channel has grown so much. It's gotten up to 3K as of today, actually, so yay! I'm so grateful for each and every one of you guys for being here, for checking out the channel, for liking, subscribing, for commenting, everything. I love to read your guys' comments and reply as often as I possibly can. And just being here for this little experience. Again, in 12 months, we've gotten 3K subscribers, so I'm gonna call that a win. I hope to be like posting more shorts and again, more videos for you guys very soon. And I cannot wait to just start sharing more and more of my life with you guys. And yeah, there's so many fun things planned for 2025. I have so many cool product ideas and pattern ideas and all kinds of very fun things that I'm going to be releasing throughout this coming year. I have so many plans. I have so many calendars, release dates, projects, patterns, drafts already made, like so many things already in the works, and I'm just so excited, and I cannot wait to share them all with you. So again, I just appreciate you being here along on this journey. Yeah, that's really all I've got right now, so I appreciate you. I hope you're having a good day, and thank you so much for being here. Again, my name's Tara T, and if you need me, you know where to find me. Bye.